Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. So today I have some good news for you and some bad news. The good news is that you're about to listen to one of my favorite episodes that we've ever produced here at Self-Made Man as we sit down with the founder of Phorm Nutrition, Andy Frisella. Now, I have to be honest with you, I hadn't come across Andy until somebody suggested him as a guest for the show a few weeks ago, and I have to say that I am truly grateful for that introduction. Andy is a force of nature. He is the definition of hustle. He lives life as big and as well as anybody that I've ever met. And most importantly, he's never lost sight of what is really important to him in his life and his business, which is loyalty, love, and of course, I am happy to say, Lamborghinis. His story and the humble beginnings of his company are incredibly inspiring. The wisdom he's going to share with you today when it comes to acquiring new customers and turning them into lifelong fans is absolutely priceless. It's something everybody needs to hear and to really take in. And the leadership that he's providing to his team and his fans is absolutely something to aspire to. So that's the good news. The bad news is, well, little did I know when I recorded this, but the microphone was not working when we held this show last week, which means that the sound quality from my audio is absolutely horrendous. Fortunately, though, Andy's is great, and he does most of the talking. So keep that in mind. Please forgive me on that one. We'll get it here fixed shortly. And with that being said, please welcome Andy Frisella. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Dillard here. And today we have an opportunity to sit down with the founder and CEO of Phorm, one of the biggest nutrition supplement and manufacturers in the United States today, Andy Frisella. So Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, man. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time today and for contributing to the Self-Made Man project. And I got to say, I'm quite excited for this interview because, you know, we've got, well, one, I take a lot of supplements, and two, you've built an amazing business really on the side of it that I'm not very familiar with and that I don't think most people are, which is the manufacturing side.
Right.
But above and beyond that, too, I think we have quite a bit in common when it comes to some of our passions and hobbies, one of which is cars. So
yeah.
Hopefully we'll dive into that here during the interview today as well.
It wouldn't be a proper interview without talking about the cars.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So Andy, you know, I really wanted to dive into your story, which I've read about on your site, which I think is very, very, very interesting. You know, what you've overcome to where you are today. And so essentially the question to you would be, how did you become a self-made man?
You know, self-made is such a weird, such a weird term because at the root of self-made, I really do feel like it takes, you know, many different factors into play. You know, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from growing up. You know, whenever I was a kid, it wasn't like I wasn't raised like I was gifted things. You know, if I wanted to go out and get a new bike, I had to go out and earn it. And, you know, one of the ways my dad did that was he would bring home defective light bulb packs, because that's what he sold, is basically light bulb electrical supplies. You know, and we all know, you know, they come in 4 to a pack or 6 to a pack, and if one of the bulbs is broken, the whole pack is bad. So he would bring home all the defective packs, and I would put them back together, and I would go sell those door to door to earn, you know, quote unquote, toys or whatever, you know, bikes or new athletic equipment or things like that I wanted, because we were little sports guys growing up.
What age were you when you were doing that?
I did that, I mean, all the way up until I was in high school. So okay. I started like around 9-10 years old and just did it. It was what I did. And I mean, I've been to thousands and thousands and thousands of houses, like literally. He would drop me off in a neighborhood. I would go hit the neighborhood. He'd come back in an hour. You know what I mean? It was, but he was teaching me, you know, and I didn't, you know, I didn't get that at the time. But he, you know, my dad was really, really good about instilling these kind of things in me growing up. So, you know, I kind of knew I always was an entrepreneur. You know, people say through and through or in the blood, you know, it's in my blood. It's just what I am. And, you know, when I got done with high school, I went to college for a year. And after a year, man, I was like, dude, this is not for me. I just knew it. my business partner and I, we talked to, we were friends from high school, and we talked a million times about, hey, let's start a business. The original business idea we had was to start a tanning salon, but we went to research it, and, tanning beds are like $30,000-$40,000. And we're like, well, we don't have that kind of money. So that got like cut out right away. So the next thing we looked at was vitamins and supplements. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And finally, we were like, screw it, let's do this. And we came up with this plan, and I moved to Springfield, Missouri from St. Louis when I was 19 years old. And, it was the most basic plan of basic plans. Like, we had to go around and find a location, and nobody would rent to us because we were 19 and we didn't have any credit. And, everybody was like, yeah, right, these 19-year-old kids are going to fuck everything up. And I don't blame them for not renting. But the point is nobody would do anything for us. So him and I, what we did for jobs was we striped parking lots, painted the stripes on parking lots. And what most people don't realize, but that's actually a pretty good job pay-wise, especially for two 19-year-old kids. I mean, this is back in 1999, and we were making close to $30 an hour doing it. But it's hard work, man. You're pushing a 400-pound striper full of liquid across a parking lot for 10 hours a day. It's not like it's an easy thing. So we were able to amass, a huge fortune of $12,000. And we found a landlord that would rent us a spot, and rent was $1,000 a month. It's one block north of the original Bass Pro Shop in Springfield, Missouri. It's still there. The store's still there. And we got this shop, and we had to pay the rent the whole year up front. It was $12,000. So there went our $12,000, and we had no money for inventory. We had no money for shelving. We had no money for marketing. There wasn't, social media back then where you could, just go out and market for free if you're creative. So basically we had to get real creative. And what we did was we went around campus, and this is before the credit bubble and all that stuff. You used to be able to get credit cards, they give them out like candy. So we went around and we applied for every single credit card that we could get. And then we took those credit cards and we bought the inventory for the store, which our first amount of inventory for that store was $10,000. I mean, which in perspective, our stores carry $300,000 to $400,000 now.
Wow.
So, that's how we got the doors open. That's the first step. Of course we're ambitious young 19-year-old kids, right? We're thinking, oh man, we're going to open the store. It's going to make $1 million. We're going to be rich in a year. And, we won't have to this isn't even going to be hard, man. This is going to be awesome. And that was our mindset. We didn't really know anything about business. I mean, I knew my little bit that I learned growing up. First day we opened, we sold $7. Okay. The guy that came in, I still remember his name. His name was Nick Vespa. I knew him from the bar that we bartended at night. And I think he came in because he felt sorry for us.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? And it became very evident that was the case the next day, because we sold $0 the next day. And then the day after that, third day, we sold $22. So, I mean, after 3 or 4 days, we were like, holy crap, man, what did we get into? And I mean, there's just a number of things that have gone on. I mean, you have to remember, like, we didn't have any money. Like, we didn't even have an apartment. We were living in the back of the store at this point. We had a couch that my dad gave us, which was like a love seat. It wasn't even a full couch. It was a love seat. And I mean, I miss that thing because it was actually pretty comfortable. But we also got a mattress from there was a Salvation Army retail store down the street. And we got this mattress, and it had like, piss stains and shit on it that we threw in the back of the store, dude. And we took turns. One guy slept on the couch, one guy slept on the mattress, and we would go back and forth. We'd shower at friends' houses. We worked in a college town at a bar. So we knew all the other bartenders. So if we wanted to eat or drink, we usually got hooked up there, so it didn't take much. We didn't have a lot of expenses. We didn't have, car payments. And, we both owned our cars, which were of shit, and that's how we started, man. It was just 2 weeks into us opening up, store got broken into. It got vandalized. The people opened up all of the protein and creatine and vitamins and all the things that we had, put them on the floor, and then took the Culligan water that we had and dumped the Culligan water all over the protein powders and stuff, and made like a giant protein shake on the middle. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I have to, like, when I tell this story, I have to remember all the shit that went bad, because it was just like one thing after another. But this is where I like to, like, point something out. You know, a lot of things, whenever you're an entrepreneur, you think of them at first as bad things, right? You're like, oh man, that sucks. That's going to be bad. That's hard on us. Why is this so hard for us? But they end up being good things, because if that landlord, you know, when he took our first $12,000, if that landlord had not done that, we would not have been able to survive that vandalism issue and that break-in, because it took us another 2 months to get product back in, because the insurance took that long to pay. So had we not paid our rent up front, which we thought was like a big, you know, kick in the nuts in the beginning, you know, we wouldn't have been able to survive. So, you know, you have to be able to recognize those things as you go. But yeah, man, basically, you know, to speed the story up, you know, slowly and surely, we worked one customer at a time, made friends with one customer at a time, helped one customer at a time. You know, 8 months after that, you know, we were doing a huge amount of dollars in sales. We were doing $200 a day. You know, we thought we were killing it. And we just kept going, man. We would go around. We didn't have money to advertise. We would go around to police and fire stations and businesses and just hustle and just talk and make friends and, you know, figure out how we could help people and figure out what people wanted and figure out how we could create value for people. And we did that. That was just what we did. We didn't have the money to advertise. There was no social media. There was the internet, but nobody knew how to fucking use it, you know? So, you know, we were just basically doing anything we could do, you know, like, it's almost like, you know, just anything you could do to survive. That's what we did. So we did that. And it took us 8 months to have a day over $200. 5.5 years in, we opened our second store. When we opened our second store, sales doubled at the first store, just because it brought more awareness to the company. And, you know, eventually we grew and grew and grew. And in 2009, we started a manufacturing company, because, and that's a whole other story. I don't even know if you want to stop and talk about anything.
No. I would actually love to, you know, to hear your thoughts about that transition. And, you know, I'm just curious. I've always, when I drive by the nutrition, you know, supplement stores that we have here in Austin, I've just always been curious as to, you know, how that business model works in general, or,
right,
you know, the quality of their products. And, you know, I always hear stories about GNC's products that they're, you know, the quality is not that high, but frankly, I don't know anything about it. So I'm not one to judge. So this is a really unique opportunity to kind of get the inside scoop on the nutrition world.
I'll just tell you exactly. It's the Wild Wild West. I mean, it's an industry that needs to be regulated. The FDA needs to step in, and most supplement company owners will fight this and say, you know, no, let's keep the FDA out. I'm a proponent personally of bringing them in and letting them regulate, because I think the industry needs it, because a lot of times people don't know what they're getting or what they're putting in their body. So you have to be very, very careful. You know, it is, man. It's just the best way to describe it. It's the Wild Wild West. You know, they're starting to put in regulations, like they have CGMP regulations. They have certifications like NSF and USP, and there's all kinds of different things that they have now. But the reality is most companies just don't have them. So what that means is the FDA can't really regulate if what the product says is actually what's in the bottle, which is why you hear all this stuff all the time. You know, hey, these pro players use this and they ended up getting tested positive for some sort of hormone or you know, banned substance. And it's a shame, man. You know, it's just not the way it should be.
So how do you know if the products you're buying are quality, or just, you know, have a bunch of filler in it?
Yeah, man. The best way to look at a product is to pick it up, and it's going to have one of 3 different symbols on it. It'll have a symbol for NSF. It'll have a symbol for USP. And these are big symbols. If companies have it, they'll promote it. Okay. So you'll be able to recognize it. It's not a little bitty like circle, you know, registered circle. It's a badge. It'll say USP, it'll say NSF, or it'll say manufactured in an FDA inspected facility. Okay. And the FDA inspected facility is where, like, the FDA basically comes in and puts their code of regulations just like they would with food. So, I mean, it's a very solid badge and something that you can trust. So you just got to look for one of those 3 things.
So what inspired you guys to branch out into manufacturing? Was it just you know, own the supply chain, or was it a quality control issue? You know, what was the inspiration?
Well, what we just talked about is actually a great lead into it. So,
Yeah.
you know, we had zero money. You know, we didn't have Bill Gates backing us up here. So for a long time, I mean, I'm talking the first year we started, second year we were in, we had 10 years to sit there and watch companies put out products that were A, not what they said they were, B, not to the quality they should be, because for some reason in the supplement industry, and I think because the barrier to entry is so low, you know, you could get into supplement manufacturing for $500,000 or less now. But in the big scheme of things, that's a pretty low barrier to entry. And we had companies making products that were not what they could be. And the whole point of supplements, and I think personally, what I believe is that if you're going to put something in your body, you're going to want to put the best thing in your body when you're buying something to help you perform, which is the opposite of the mentality of most companies. Most companies want to make the cheapest product they can, market it the best way they can, and make the most margin in between. Well, you know, as I agree, margin is extremely important, but Chris and I had always talked about creating a product that was the best, like the Rolls Royce of products, regardless of price. And that's what we did, you know. So we created the inspiration for the brand was to create the best products that we could, without any pixie dusting, without any, you know, label pencil fucking, you know, and just make it the best that we could, regardless of what the price would end up being. And we've been very successful in doing that looking back. Now, when we started to do that, it was different because nobody did it. You know, most proteins, when we started, you could buy 5 pounds of protein for $20. You know, our 2 pounds of our protein is $50. And that's just because of the way that it's manufactured. You know, it's a better quality product. And what the good thing is once people use it for 30 days, they understand what's different, and they try to go back and it messes their stomach up and they understand the difference. But the point is that we had this idea, what we were going to do. And, you know, we didn't have our manufacturing facility or ability to manufacture at that time in 2009 when we first started this. We had to go around. We went around to a number of different manufacturers all over the country, and they were all in the same mindset of, that's going to be too expensive. It's not going to sell. We're not going to do it. They wouldn't put the research time into even making the product for us because they were like, it's not going to fucking work. So what we ended up doing, you know, and by this time we had some money coming in. We weren't totally broke, but I mean, personally, we were totally broke, but the company was doing well at this time. We found a company that we partner with, and we agreed. They weren't even in the protein manufacturing business or supplement manufacturing business. We partnered on, I convinced them. Well, here's how it happened. They hired me to come evaluate a product for them. Okay. So, Target actually went to them to ask them to consult on their protein powder. And they came to me and they said, hey, can you look at this? We don't know what this is. And I said, yeah. And so I went in and, you know, I helped them basically develop this product, which they were not in the business of doing. And then a conversation started. Hey, you know, we have this idea. What do you guys think? And they're like, well, we'd be willing to do it if you guys bought the equipment. So like what we did was we bought the equipment. We partner with them exclusively so they don't make anybody else's products. And then that's how our manufacturing got started. So we had to go out and we had to basically go out and do it ourselves to get the formulas made the way that we wanted to, because nobody believed they would sell. And this other company that we started working with, you know, they didn't know any better. So they just did it. And then it's worked out, you know, but that's how we got the company going. So we were making our own product. I'm picking the product up literally in the back of my pickup truck. So this is how small the amount of product we were getting made. Me and my distribution manager here at Phorm, who's a good friend of mine, we would take both our pickup trucks and we would go and pick the shit up and put it in the back of our truck. And then we would drive it around to our own stores. Okay. So that's how we started Phorm. We started with literally 2 pickup truck fulls of product and drove it around the store, sold it in our own stores. And then the product was good. People, you know, we retained customers that used the product. The company organically grew because of the word of mouth. And, you know, and now we're here, you know, like we started at the bottom and now we're here, you know, that's how it started. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome. What was the most difficult challenge that you faced during this phase?
Honestly, not understanding taxes and not understanding not understanding. We got in a little trouble paying taxes, and because we didn't understand what we were doing. So like basically going from a small business to a bigger business, we just didn't. The financial aspect on the back end was the hardest to manage, and we ended up getting in some trouble for the taxes, and we paid that off, and that was a substantial amount. I mean, like in the millions. Yeah. And we paid that back, and that was like our biggest financial struggle. I think the biggest struggle, mentally though, even bigger than that, was just getting people to believe in it. Like, Andy, you're this regular dude. You're starting a supplement company. What are you making that stuff in your bathtub? Like the customer, because it was weird, man. When we started it here in St. Louis, everybody kind of looked at us like, what are you guys doing? Why are you trying to do that? That doesn't make sense. You're not a chemist. You're not a PhD. You're not, you're just a dude who owns a retail store. Mm. And that's how, I heard that a million times, man. Like it was just, it never stopped. And then eventually, people, the tides changed. They saw us get momentum, just like when anybody starts to become successful, they see you get some momentum and they hop on the train, and then it becomes, instead of a taboo thing, it becomes the cool thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's what's happened, and now we have the Midwest locked down. I would say, and through the Missouri and the states that touch Missouri, we're probably the number one brand in the whole entire region. Mm. So, it's just, I don't know, man. We've been fortunate. I've got great guys that work for me. I've got a great team. These dudes hustle. They understand to this day. We've never lost that like broke guy hustle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, like the hunger. Like we've never lost it. We still have that here. And there's like if you walk in our building, there's still fire. There's still intensity. It's not corporate. You know what I mean? It's
right.
So it's a great place to work. And I don't know, man. It's just hustle, man.
Was there any particular person or hire that made a huge difference for you guys as you started to scale and get bigger?
Well, I have it's funny because the guy I was just talking to you when we were having an internet connection problem earlier, that's my main dude. His name is Jason, and he's been with me since 2006, and he's become, basically like a third partner in our business. Cause I have another business partner, and we didn't, hire him. We kind of adopted him when we went from 2 stores, and then moved to Missouri. We took over a failing business, and he was with that company. So he's basically, came in with making $10 an hour, and now he's doing really well. I mean, he drives an Audi R8 V10 to work every day. So, I mean, he's doing okay. But the point is like, he was just a regular kid, who went and learned all these skills. And now, I mean, the guy, if something happened to me or Chris, he could run the company.
So are you talking, from or he runs all of the tech, or he runs the operations, or?
Oh, he could do anything, man. He's like, him and I are like twins. I mean, he's so in tune. We're so in tune. He could write emails for me, and our own guys would think I wrote them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's, but as far as like hiring him from the outside, we're big on bringing people up. I'm huge on culture. I believe that everybody needs to understand what it's like to be in the store environment, And so what we do is we hire in. Guys start out at minimum wage plus points. There's a bonus system in our store. It's not commission like, oh, sell this, get this. It's on performance of the store and transactional growth of the store, because that indicates that they're retaining customers and they're helping customers get results. Because if you don't help a customer get results, you're not going to retain them. So it's not a pressure situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So guys come in, minimum wage plus points. They move up to what we call development group, which is short. We call it DevGru for short, which means like they're in line for a position up. We have substantial requirements for you to qualify for DevGru, but the guys know what they are ahead of time. So like they can work towards getting that. And then they move to DevGru, then they could possibly move to manager. Some guys go straight from DevGru. We hire them over to Phorm to bring in for like customer service, because everybody has to be certified NASM personal trainer, certified NASM nutrition specialist to even work in this building or supplement superstores. So I want every single person, even if they're a computer tech guy, to be able to have a conversation about nutrition and fitness with somebody who asks them, oh, you work at Phorm? Oh, you work at supplement superstores? Well, I was thinking about this, because that's exactly what people do. I was thinking about how I was going to lose weight, and they need to be able to handle that conversation because it happens 100 times a day.
That's awesome.
Right.
That's super cool.
So our guys are they're brought up through the system is the short answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense. So, the business is going on, and forgive me, I don't know this from going through your bio yet, but are you a family guy at this point? You married with kids?
I'm married. We don't have any kids. That's something that I'm just being honest. We kind of just keep kicking that can down the road.
Right.
All my family, my brother's married. My older brother and sister both have kids, and everybody's like, man, there's never going to be a good time. And like now I'm 36, she's 33, and I'm kind of like starting to understand what they meant by that because it's just never gotten any better. Like I've been putting it off. And, so I don't know. I mean, that's probably on the horizon. But we're married. We have 3 bulldogs, those are our kids right now. And my wife is an entrepreneur as well. She owns a blog and a cooking service called Fit Home and Health. And she basically is a chef, but chooses to apply her skills towards like healthy type meals. So
awesome. Yeah. Any advice that you'd have for the listeners here today on balancing, work life and married life, if you will, because that's always been a challenge for most people.
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask for that. I've been fortunate enough to, like, with the question you're asking, I'm not going to sit here and act like I have everything figured out because I don't. Every relationship I've had prior to the one that I'm in now has fallen apart because of that. Because I've been in business since I was 19. So You have to remember, so every college girlfriend, every post-college girlfriend, this is where I've been not good, and I'm fortunate enough to have a wife whose dad is also an entrepreneur and basically has dedicated his life to his businesses to where she kind of understands what it takes. And, and so I'm not very good at that. Like the short answer is I'm not good at the balance thing. My mind is always on business. But she helps because she understands that and she helps take me away from that when it needs to happen. You know what I mean? So my advice would be to try to find somebody who understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur because most people just don't get it. They're happy within their society designed 4 walls of conformity. You know what I mean? And if you work 41 hours a week, you're not spending enough time with the family. If you work and that's just not reality when you're an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
How did you guys meet?
This is actually pretty funny. She was the office manager at the company who did all of our graphics and vinyl, the company's called Vinyl Images. They're here in St. Louis. They do like graphic wraps, and I got my truck wrapped. Okay. And then I started using them for like signage and all this stuff. And I became good friends with the guys. They're still really good friends of mine now. Well, I would always be in their office because their office was right down the road from our lab. And I would always be in the office and she was actually married. So I never like looked at her like, hey, I want to take you out or anything. She was just somebody who worked there. And I was friends with the owners and we were in there and, I'd tell them all the stories about me dating girls and what I was doing. And she would know all the bad stuff that guys do and, heard all the bro stories, that I would tell. Cause I was like, yeah, this girl works here. She doesn't care. She's married.
Right.
And, so anyway, this went on for years. Like 4 years. We knew each other. We were just friends, acquaintances. And she ended up getting divorced like a year prior. So I didn't even know that she had got divorced. I had no clue. And one day we were talking and I found out she got divorced and I had just gotten out of a relationship as well. And I was like, oh man, I've always thought she was pretty cute. And she used to call me when I couldn't pay my bills. So I couldn't pay my bills all the time on time. So she would call and be like, hey, you need to pay your bills. And I would make jokes like, hey, you're just calling me to flirt, just try to deflect the situation so I didn't have to pay the bills. and man, it just got a little more friendly. And on her birthday, I wanted to do something cool for her birthday. So I sent her a male stripper, like this 70-year-old man stripper. So And that went over pretty well. And then she asked me out after that. So she asked me to go out, and we went to dinner, and we've just been together since then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, we have to dive in because I'm super curious. You're going through your bio, through your website and everything, lots of pictures of lots of cool cars. So how did you get into that?
Man, I've always been a car guy. When I was little at Hot Wheels, I had micro machines, I drove. I can remember going to a gas station one time with my dad, and there was a white Lamborghini Countach at the gas station. And I was like, that is awesome. And my dad's like, yeah, that's, he explained to me what it was. I didn't know what it was. And he's like, that's what you get when you work hard, So like very young, I saw this car and I'm like, man, that is awesome. And it kind of hooked me into cars. And when I was little, I'm talking like 7, 8 years old. And, all through high school, trying to have the coolest car I could, which wasn't really cool, but, it was something that was like important to me. You know what I mean? I've always liked cars, and I grew into it. And so having a white Lamborghini was like a huge goal of mine. And, I just scaled my way up, man. I went and my first exotic car was a 2007 Aston Martin Vantage, which actually was a really cool car.
That was mine too.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was a manual. It was awesome, man. It sounded awesome. It wasn't super fast, but it was fun to drive.
Yeah.
I loved it. And a lot of my buddies now are like, kind of give me a little bit of trouble about it. They're like, man, that's like a woman's car. I'm like, no, dude, that car is fun. If you haven't driven it, you don't get it. But I've always loved Astons. So I bought that, and then I ended up trading that in on a V8 R8.
Same here.
Yeah. And then I traded that in on a Turbo S 911. And then I bought another Turbo S 911, and then I bought then I added a V10 R8 to that. So then I had like a Turbo S and a V10, and then I got a Superleggera 2011 Lamborghini Superleggera. That was white. That was my best. That was my favorite car I've ever owned. It wasn't the most expensive or the most. It was just like a goal, And I have pictures of it on my Instagram. I bought that car. Drove it, sold it, then bought it back from the guy who I sold it to because I wanted to keep it. Well, the day after I bought it back, I drove it to my uncle's house for a party, and I let one of my uncles drive it, and he totaled it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get hurt or anything, so it was a good deal, but it was just, that car, like, it just meant something to me. But so anyway, that car went away. I bought an Aventador, I ended up getting my first Aventador, which was a 2012 Aventador. And at that time, I think I had the Superleggera and the Aventador. Let's see. Then I bought the Ford GT after the Superleggera.
How do you, I have to, I'm looking at it on your Instagram right now. I actually took delivery of a 2005 last week.
You did? What color?
White with the blue stripes.
Oh man, it's like my favorite color on the colored cars. You know what I mean? That is so cool. Have you driven it much yet?
Well, so this is bittersweet because it's the first car that I've bought for appreciation purposes.
Yeah.
And so it has 1,600 miles on it.
Yeah.
And it's the only car I've ever owned where I'm seriously disincentivized to drive.
Yeah.
For that reason. So it drives me crazy where I have this amazing car I want to drive every day like I've done with my previous ones. Right. And I know that I'm killing the value of it with every mile that I put on it.
Dude, you know what, man? Just drive it. We're going to be dead one day. It's not going to matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. I've got 2 Ford GTs right now. I've got an all black one that I ended up putting a Whipple supercharger and straight through Borla exhaust, a cat delete. I mean, it is just monstrous. And, dude, I drive that car. I mean, I had 1,500 miles on it when I got it. It's got like 5,000 now. I drive the shit out of it. And it used to be Tim Allen's car. And then before it was Tim Allen's car, it was the dude from Orange County Shoppers, Paulie Jr.
Wow.
So it's got like a little story to it. But,
wow, that's cool.
So I drive that one, and then I have a Heritage that I just bought like a month ago.
Okay.
Which I don't drive very much. I drive it, but maybe just to keep it moving,
Yeah, there's no need of it. You got the other one that's all
right.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the exhaust. That's my one thing that I'm most disappointed about with the car is that it's too quiet.
Yeah, dude, you gotta switch it out, man.
Yeah.
Well, my theory is on these Fords is that first of all, I think when the new GT comes out, they're going to go up again, like way up. And then the other thing is it's just like a restored car. You look at like the cars from the 70s, you don't look at the original miles, so to speak. You look at what it's, since it's been updated. So I don't know. I'm betting on the mileage won't be as big of a deal as we think, as long as we keep them long enough.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. So for those who are out there, listening now that we're off into Carland, I've gone the same route. I've had 2 Aston Martin Vantages. I've had 2 Audi R8s.
Yeah.
I've had my favorite car of all time that I've ever owned is a 458 Spider.
Yeah. Those are fun to drive.
And it's like a chainsaw behind your head.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And then I've got a Cayman GT4, and then I've got the Ford GT right now. And so with the Cayman GT4 specifically, and with the Ford, my mode is, okay, if I'm going to buy an expensive car moving forward, I want to buy a car that's either going to retain value or increase in value.
Right.
And with the Ford, it's doubled in price in 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And, ideally in another 10, it'll be worth $500,000 to $500,000 to $1 million, which is a great way to own a car. So yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize we had so many in common.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. How you like that Cayman? Those are cool.
Well, I have a Cayman S right now that I track, and the GT4 is on the boat. It should be here in the next week or so. Yeah,
I've got a GT3 RS coming too, and I gotta paint the sample allocation. So
see there's the ultimate. If I could have found an RS to buy, I would have bought one as well, because that thing is going to be awesome.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I won't get mine until January, I don't think, because it's the it's the custom paint, but it'll be cool when I get it. But yeah, man, I'm a big Lamborghini guy. I just bought a Huracan. It's out. I haven't even picked it up yet. I've got an SV Roadster on order. I'm trying to get in line for a Ford GT, the new one.
Yep.
And then my daily driver, I have 2 daily drivers. I drive a dually, a big giant like lifted dually, and which is awesome. It's 800 horsepower, twin turbo. And then I've got a Rolls Royce Wraith, which is, I actually thought I would never like, but the guys talked me into trying it out, and man, it is awesome. I love it, dude. I drive it so much, and it's like, I don't know. I can't see myself, as long as I can afford to have one, it would be hard for me to not have one after having it.
Why do you like it? Because I can't see myself driving one either until I'm at least 50.
Dude, they're fast, man.
Yeah.
They're super fast. They're 625 or 30 horsepower. I mean, I've got a video, maybe I'll post on Instagram later, of doing burnouts with it. I mean, it's freaking awesome. And when you get in it, it's like a private jet on the inside. It's not like a car, man. It's just, I'm a big dude, man. I'm like 6'1", 285. And I mean, cramming myself in sports cars, I'll make it work because I have a passion. But, getting in the roles, if it suits me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
But dude, you if you drove one, you'd understand. They're really fast. And I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know.
Cool. Well, that's good. That's the point, is how it makes you feel. That is everything. So, I'm on your Instagram. You've got 350,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
It's kind of funny. 6-7 years ago, I've always been a student of success. I've always been not just like my own personal success. I like hearing other people's stories. I like writing about the principle of success. And so on our Facebook page for Supplement Superstores, this is before really First Form even existed, I used to write these little passages like about, because dude, talking about what vitamins to take and how much protein you use gets boring after like a day. So instead, I just chose to start writing messages about, what it takes to be successful, and, you determine what success is, you know what I mean? And so I started developing that habit for really no other reason than we just didn't have anything cool to talk about, and it's evolved. And then my personal Facebook page took on that persona. And when I started Instagram, I have all this cool shit, and I would post it, and people would be like, Andy, how'd you blah, blah, blah? How'd you do that? And so I would tell stories, and I would tell stories about how I did it. And I would tell the same kind of stories that I had written about for years and years and years, and talk about the principle of success. And I caught the attention of some big guys. Like, I've got some big people that follow me. Like, one of the guys who's really helped grow the page, which is really cool because I love his music, is LL Cool J. He shared my stuff a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And, every time he shared it, I would get thousands of followers. And then I started, making connections with other guys on the internet on the internet that did the same sort of thing. Like there's a guy called Agent Steven. His name is Steve Mayer. He's out in California, and we become really good friends and we share each other's stuff. And then there's a guy named Sean Thomas in Nashville. His name is Ask a Millionaire, and we share and basically just networking, man. There's the Secret Entourage Academy, and they picked me for Entrepreneur of the Year last year. And basically, man, just giving good content, over and over and over again. And it just grows, So
yeah, that's awesome. That's
something
awesome.
that I'm passionate about. I love, which is why I even started, our podcast.
That was actually my next question for you. Tell us a little bit about that, and specifically why you started it, because you're a busy guy. You don't need to start a podcast. So why are you into that?
The podcast is called the MFCEO Project, and it's similar in some ways to what you guys are doing with your podcast. I just saw a need for leadership for these younger entrepreneurs. I didn't see anybody out there really telling. I see it. Here's what I see a lot of, and I'm just going to be really frank. I hope you don't mind. Yeah, I see a lot of people out there painting this beautiful picture of entrepreneurship, and and then they're trying to sell these kids something like, "Hey, look at me, look at all my cars, look at my house, buy my shit," and that's not the truth of entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship is a long journey. It's a long battle. It's something that you're going to have to develop different skills in. You're going to have to be persistent. And so I chose to take a different route and say, look, it took me 17 years to get here. And I basically go on, and the project, the thing's called the MFCEO Project. That stands for motherfucking CEO. And the whole idea is for people to become the MFCEO of themselves, which means no cutting corners, no bullshitting yourself, no, taking the easy route. It's just about the truth of life, man, and entrepreneurship. And I believe personally that the difference between success and the difference between not being successful ultimately comes down to the point. If you break it down a million ways, it ultimately comes down to one's ability to delay gratification, for the time being. So it's the ability to choose delay gratification over instant gratification. And, we just talk about different principles of success in a no holds barred, no filtered way. And it's been awesome. I love it. I mean, I just love doing it.
Yeah.
And it's been very successful, I think, because, I'm a normal dude, man. A lot of these guys who are big entrepreneurs like to paint themselves as like there's some, they're cut from a different cloth. No, man. I'm a regular dude. I curse. I drink beer. I listen to freaking country music. And, I've been able to do some cool shit. And I've got a long way to go. And there's, many, many, many people that are way further down the line, even in my own industry, than I am. But I feel like nobody's telling the story. Nobody's telling the truth. And nobody's really helping people, move forward, because they tell them this bullshit story of it. And then the person goes out and tries it. They fail. And then they think there's something wrong with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to set reasonable expectations and reasonable principles and the truth from what I've seen from somebody who's, not had any real help on this journey, So I don't know. We get people on there. We tell stories. I'm sure you do too. I love people's stories.
Yeah,
I love hearing people's success.
I think stories are the ultimate source of inspiration, lessons learned, guidance. It's all wrapped into something that's interesting to listen to as well. So,
right. And the thing is with what's going on today is, these kids, they're raised, man, like they don't keep score in freaking sports games, and they get told they're freaking perfect. And the reality is, man, the world will crush you.
they're the biggest, it's crazy scary, because especially kids in fairly liberal colleges today, their biggest thing is, you've offended me. And you're wondering what the hell the world's going to look like in 15 years when they're adults and they're in a workplace and someone tells them no, or to screw off, or whatever it may be, and what they're going to do.
Dude, Mike, the thing is, man, is like, I'm very, the podcast is called The Motherfucking CEO. I mean, is like, right. it is not for everybody.
Right.
I mean, you do not want to listen to my podcast with your kids in the room. Okay. But the point of it is that I try to break that down. And even though it's not for everybody, I know that there's people listening and there's people who are like, yeah, I knew there was something wrong with what I was being taught. And they're starting to transition from this, fairy tale land that they're taught from the time they're 2 years old, to now in reality. And like, if you think about how kids are raised now, man, it's not fair to them. You don't get to keep score. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's special. And then you throw them out in the real world and the world crushes them. Whose fault is that?
Right.
That's not their fault. They just haven't been told the real story. So I don't know. I'm just trying to do, I guess what my dad did for me, I'm trying to do for people. I was very fortunate. I love my dad. I love my mom, and I've just trying to share, man, the journey, and from my viewpoint.
That's awesome. Well, this has been awesome. This has been awesome, Andy. I had no idea how much we had in common, especially until I hit your Instagram account here, because we drive the same cars. We even shoot the same guns.
There we go, buddy. Yeah. Hey, man, anytime you want to come up here, I've got a 200-acre farm. I've got a shooting range on. So
nice.
If you want to come up, I'd love to have you on the podcast, man. Maybe we make a trip up here and put you on the podcast, and we'll go out and shoot for a day or two.
That'd be fun. You have a track close by too?
Yeah, right across the river, Gateway.
Nice.
Yeah, and
nice.
I'll put you in one of my cars. We'll go race.
Sweet. Are you competitive?
Dude, yeah. I probably hold the record for the most broken video game controllers on the face of the earth.
Oh well.
So
competitive in general, yes. Do you race competitively?
Oh no. But I am going to Skip Barber here in the spring with a buddy of mine who's also a business owner here in St. Louis. We're going to go and get our SCCA license and just start messing around with it. We'll see where it goes. I got a really cool opportunity recently. Robbie Gordon has this stadium truck series that he runs. Mm-hmm. And I somehow came in contact. I posted a post on my Facebook like, hey, this is awesome. If anybody knows how to do this, let me know. And I was kind of like bullshitting a little bit, but like one of the guys who follows me was like, dude, I do that. I'm a driver, and got me hooked up with it. And so now I'm going to try to go out and do qualifying day for that. And then, I got to talk my business partner into letting us sponsor a truck so I can drive it. But
nice. It's
really cool, man. And I've always loved like off-road racing. Like I've always loved like Baja and one of my dreams is to do the Baja 1000, but this would be a step for me to learn how to do that. You know what I mean?
So, here's some interesting stuff for you. I did the Skip Barber intermediate and advanced back-to-back down at Sebring last year.
Oh, cool.
So we did 5 days straight in the open wheel. And that was my first time with any actual instruction. So we did that. And over the last 12 months, got my SCCA pro license and working on my IMSA right now. So we're racing in the Spec Boxster series here for Porsche in Texas.
That's awesome.
And then I did my first Baja 1000 in 2008.
No way, you did it?
I did it, and then I've competed in the Mint 400 every year for the last 3 years, and won last year.
What category did you do Baja in?
With the wide open crew.
What is that?
So Class 10 was through wide open Baja, which is kind of the arrive and drive version of the Robbie Gordon Stadium trucks.
Oh, okay. So it's a truck?
No, it's a buggy.
Oh, okay, cool.
And there's an awesome firm in Nevada called 01 Odysseys. And this is the same concept for the Mint 400 every year, where you basically get your car and you can drive the entire race if you want, or have a co-driver. They have a 50-person support crew, 10 support vehicles. They treat you like kings when you're down there. And so, guys like you and I can show up and race. And the first year I rolled 5 times. The second year I won. And then last year we were winning with 20 miles left and our fuel pump broke. So
how is it, man? Is it awesome?
It's the most fun thing I've ever done in my life, which is why I go back every year. So
dude, I'm gonna have to get with you on that for sure.
That's
like
every
a dream
March.
of mine, man. Like that's like what I want to do since I was a little kid.
Well, it's funny. My entire reason for work and growing my business now is so that I can sell it and go race full time.
That is so cool, man.
Yeah.
But don't forget about me whenever that happens, man.
Likewise.
Yeah,
you need a co-driver.
Awesome.
I'm in.
Hell yeah. Dude, I'm like smiling in your ear right now. That pumps me up, dude. Like that's cool.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome.
That's real cool, man.
Well, Andy, thank you so much. This was awesome. And where can people go? Where should people go to find out more about you and First Phorm? Where do you want to send them?
The best place to go is the mfceo.com. That has my bio, has links to my companies that I own. We've got 6 different companies that we own, all under the realm of nutrition, outside of any real estate investments that we have. But go to the mfceo.com. You could read the bio. You can read about the companies. That's the best place to go. You can follow me on Instagram at Andy Frisella, and then on Periscope. I do a lot of Periscoping. I'm top 20 in the world right now on Periscope, and it's at Andy Frisella on Periscope. So Periscope's really cool. Are you doing Periscope yet?
Awesome. Not yet. Not yet.
You'd be great at it. You should check it out.
It's weird when you have to jump on there. It's like, what do I have interesting or valuable to say? And I don't know, man.
I don't know. I'm sure you have a million things. It's just getting over that hump of like, do people really care? And you'll find out they do.
Right.
So
cool. Well, this was super fun and an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the time today, Andy. And guys, go check out his Instagram account. It's absolutely amazing what he's got up there. And Andy, we've got to get together and drive or shoot or do something soon. So I'll definitely be in touch.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a really good time. I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Likewise. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned, and we will see you next week. Take care.